The story begins with Poseidon, the god of the sea, who rises from the river water in human form. He walks across a bridge and reaches the top of a towering skyscraper where he comes face to face with his brother Zeus. Zeus tells him to look up at the sky. The entire sky is covered with dark storm clouds, but there is no lightning because Zeus's most powerful weapon, the Master Bolt, has been stolen. Zeus suspects that Poseidon is behind the theft, but Poseidon clearly denies it and reminds him that according to the laws of the gods, they cannot steal each other's powers. Zeus then accuses Poseidon's son of committing the theft. Poseidon calmly says that he has not seen his son since he was a child. However, in anger, Zeus warns him that if the bolt is not returned by midnight on the summer solstice, a war between the gods will begin. The next day, a boy named Percy Jackson stays underwater in a swimming pool for a full 7 minutes and then casually walks out without any struggle. His best friend, Grover Underwood, is amazed by this strange ability and asks him how he manages to do that. Percy says he honestly doesn't know. He just feels peaceful in the water, and that's the only place where he can think clearly. At school, their new English teacher, Mrs. Dodds, writes a quote on the board and asks the class to explain its meaning. Percy doesn't raise his hand, but she still calls him to stand up and answer. Percy struggles to read because he is dyslexic. The words blur in front of him and he can't pronounce them properly. In the end, he quietly says that he doesn't know the answer. After school, Percy returns home where his mother, Sally Jackson, lives. But living with them is her husband, Gabe Aglaniano, who is extremely rude and an alcoholic. Percy tells his mother that his dyslexia and ADHD problems are getting worse than before. He thought this new school would finally help him, but nothing seems to be changing. Sally lovingly tries to comfort him, but the worry on her face is clearly visible. Suddenly, Gabe shouts from the other room, demanding his beer, and Sally silently obeys him. Percy absolutely hates the way Gabe behaves. When Percy talks back in anger, Gabe threatens him to respect his elders. Percy stays silent on the outside, but deep inside he despises Gabe. And from this moment, Percy's life is about to take a dramatic turn, where he will soon discover that he is not an ordinary boy at all, but someone whose destiny is deeply connected to the world of the gods. The next day, Percy's class goes on a trip to a Greek museum. Just before entering, Percy Jackson hears a strange whisper in his ears. "Be prepared. Everything is about to change." He turns around and sees a man who looks exactly like Poseidon, but in the very next second, the man disappears. Percy assumes it must have been his imagination. Inside the museum, their teacher, Mr. Brunner, explains the story of Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, the three brothers who defeated their father and took control of the world. He tells the students that once the gods lived among humans, and the children born from them were called demigods. During the lecture, Percy's eyes fall on some ancient Greek words written on the wall. Suddenly, the letters begin to shift and he starts seeing them clearly in English. One name stands out boldly: Perseus. Percy gives the correct explanation, and Mr. Brunner agrees that he is absolutely right. Just then, Mrs. Dodd suddenly calls Percy aside to talk privately. She leads him into an empty hallway and then suddenly vanishes. In the next moment, she appears floating in the air above him and screams, "Where is the Master Bolt?" Percy is completely confused. Before he can even respond, Mrs. Dodds transforms into a terrifying monster and attacks him. Just as Percy is about to be killed, Mr. Brunner and Grover Underwood rush in. They call the creature a fury and warn her that if she doesn't leave, she will be destroyed. Frightened, the monster crashes through a window and escapes. Percy is left shaken to his core. He secretly overhears Mr. Brunner saying, "I should have realized they would come looking for him." Percy nervously insists that he hasn't stolen anything. Mr. Brunner believes him and says he knows Percy is innocent, but now Percy is in serious danger. Mr. Brunner immediately orders Grover to take Percy to a special camp where he will be safe. Before leaving, he hands Percy an ordinary-looking pen and tells him that it is actually a very powerful weapon to be used in times of danger. Percy thinks it's some kind of joke, but Mr. Brunner ignores his reaction. As soon as they step outside the museum, Percy demands answers from Grover. What is really going on? Why is Mr. Brunner protecting me? Grover finally admits that he has been watching over Percy for years, secretly protecting him all this time. Percy is stunned, especially because Grover walks with crutches. But Grover looks serious and says, "Don't judge by appearances. The truth is something else." When they reach home, Grover Underwood urgently tells Sally Jackson that they must leave immediately. But suddenly, Gabe Ugliano blocks their way and orders Sally to serve his guests. Furious, Percy Jackson yells insults at Gabe. Gabe raises his hand to hit him, but Grover knocks him down with his crutch, and the three of them run out of the house without wasting a second. On the way, Percy repeatedly swears that he did not steal the Master Bolt. Sally says she completely trusts her son. She explains that they are heading to a special camp where children like Percy are kept safe. Percy thinks all of this sounds insane, but Sally insists that he is special because of his father. Percy doesn't even want to hear the name of the father who abandoned them, but Sally gently explains that his father didn't leave by choice. He was forced to stay away. Suddenly, their car is attacked by a terrifying monster, the Minotaur. The car flips over, but they somehow manage to escape. In that moment, Percy discovers Grover's true identity. He is not human, but a half-goat, half-human satyr. His crutches were only a disguise. They finally reach the gates of Camp Half-Blood, but Sally cannot enter. She tells Percy that she is not like him. At that exact moment, the Minotaur attacks again, grabs Sally, crushes her, and she suddenly disappears into nothingness. Watching his mother vanish, Percy is filled with uncontrollable rage. He remembers the pen given to him by Mr. Brunner. The moment he uncaps it, the pen transforms into a glowing sword. Percy charges at the monster. During the brutal fight, the sword slips from his hand, but gathering every last bit of strength, he defeats the Minotaur and then collapses unconscious into Grover's arms. When Percy wakes up, he finds himself inside a room at camp. Grover tells him that last night was not a dream. His mother is truly gone. Percy is shattered. Grover blames himself and admits that he is only a junior protector whose horns haven't even grown yet. Percy comforts him and says it wasn't his fault. Stepping outside, Grover finally reveals the full truth about the camp. Percy is not an ordinary boy. He is a demigod, half human and half god. His dyslexia exists because his brain is wired to read ancient Greek. His ADHD makes him faster and sharper in battle. That is why he was able to defeat the Minotaur. Percy, who always believed he was strange and useless, is stunned by this revelation. On the training grounds, he sees a girl skillfully fighting with a sword. Grover tells him that she is Annabeth Chase, the daughter of Athena and one of the best warriors in camp. As they move ahead, Grover introduces Percy to the centaurs, half human, half horse. And when Percy looks closely at one of them, he is shocked beyond belief because that centaur is none other than Chiron, the same teacher who had been guiding him at school in the form of Mr. Brunner. At camp, the full truth is finally revealed to Percy Jackson. Chiron, now in his real centaur form, apologizes for hiding his identity. He then shows Percy a special cabin built for his father. Inside the cabin, Percy sees a massive trident. And in that very moment, he realizes that his father is none other than Poseidon, the god of the sea. Chiron explains that children of the big three, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, are extremely rare. That is exactly why Percy is now considered dangerous. If he is Poseidon's son, the other gods will look at him with suspicion. Chiron reveals another shocking truth. The terrible smell of Gabe Ugliano was actually what kept monsters away from Percy. That is why Sally Jackson tolerated Gabe all these years just to keep her son safe. Hearing this, Percy breaks down inside. He realizes how much his mother sacrificed to protect him, and yet he couldn't save her. Percy asks why he was brought to this camp. Chiron tells him that it is now his duty to find Zeus's Master Bolt and stop the war between the gods because if war begins, the entire earth could be destroyed. Percy argues that this is not his problem, but Chiron explains that only he can convince Zeus that he is innocent. However, before anything else, he must train because monsters will now hunt him relentlessly. At the training grounds, Chiron introduces Percy to the other campers. There he meets Luke Castellan, the son of Hermes. Luke warmly welcomes him into his group. Soon, a game begins. Capture the flag. The leader of the opposing team is Annabeth Chase. Cleverly, she hides her team's flag deep inside the forest. During the match, Luke fights off enemies and sends Percy to retrieve the flag. In the forest, Percy finds it unguarded, but the moment he reaches for it, Annabeth suddenly ambushes him with complete confidence. She declares that she always wins. She attacks swiftly, injures his hand, and easily knocks him to the ground. The other campers watch the scene unfold like spectators. Grover Underwood pleads with Chiron to stop the fight, but Chiron refuses. Lying on the ground, wounded and defeated, Percy suddenly hears the voice of his father, Poseidon, calling him toward the water. The moment Percy Jackson steps into the water, a miracle happens. All his wounds heal instantly and his strength multiplies several times over. He is no longer the weak, confused boy. He now stands as a warrior filled with unstoppable power. He returns to the battlefield, defeats Annabeth Chase's team, and even disarms her by knocking the sword from her hand. But instead of hurting her, he grabs the flag and secures victory for his team. The entire camp is left stunned. For the first time, everyone has witnessed Percy's true power. That night, the camp celebrates the victory. Annabeth teasingly asks Percy, feeling like a hero now. Percy denies it. She smirks and says that maybe soon his ego will grow. Percy feels like Annabeth doesn't like him. She responds calmly, "Haven't decided yet." Suddenly, a terrifying face emerges from the campfire flames. Hades. He calls out to Percy. When no one responds, he angrily makes the fire blaze higher and threatens that if Percy ever wants to see his mother again, he must return the Master Bolt. Percy is shocked beyond words. Hades reveals that his mother is not dead. She is being held captive by him. He shows an image of Sally Jackson and promises that if Percy brings the bolt, she will be freed. Then Hades vanishes into the flames. The moment he disappears, Percy insists on leaving camp immediately. Chiron tries to reason with him, explaining that Percy has nothing to bargain with since he never stole the bolt in the first place, but Percy refuses to abandon his mother. That night, he secretly attempts to leave, but Grover Underwood catches him and declares that he will go along as his protector. Just then, Annabeth steps forward and firmly states that she is coming too. Her battle strategy and intelligence will be necessary. Percy reluctantly agrees. Now the question remains, how will they reach Hades? Annabeth suggests asking Luke Castellan since his father Hermes knows the paths to the underworld. Luke admits he has never actually met his father and calls the god selfish. However, he reveals that he once found magical flying shoes and a map at his father's place. The map mentions 3 special pearls belonging to Persephone. With the help of those pearls, it is possible to escape from the underworld. Luke Castellan explains that to use the pearl, you simply have to step on it and imagine the place you want to go, and the pearl will transport you there. He repeats that by standing on the pearl and focusing on the destination in your mind, it will take you exactly where you wish to be. Before they leave, Luke gifts Percy Jackson a special shield. Their first destination is an abandoned, isolated restaurant, strangely filled inside with stone statues. Annabeth Chase notices a fountain full of golden drachma coins and hands a few of them to Percy. The 3 of them split up to search for the first pearl. Suddenly, a mysterious old woman approaches Annabeth, asking for help and slowly lures her deeper inside. Meanwhile, Grover Underwood notices a statue that looks exactly like his late uncle, almost too real. In that instant, he realizes the horrifying truth. This place is the lair of Medusa. Panicked, he runs to warn Percy and searches desperately for Annabeth. Inside, Annabeth and the old woman attempt to escape, but suddenly Medusa herself appears before them. She welcomes the daughter of Athena and says she feels terribly lonely among nothing but stone statues. When Annabeth asks how she knew she was Athena's daughter, Medusa replies that she can feel it. She compliments Annabeth's hair and remembers how she too was once incredibly beautiful until Athena cursed her. Then she removes her scarf, revealing hissing snakes writhing in place of her hair. She takes off her glasses and tempts them to look directly into her eyes. Annabeth immediately shuts her eyes tight and tells the old woman to do the same, warning that Medusa's gaze turns people into stone. But the frightened, exhausted woman accidentally glances at her and instantly becomes a stone statue still holding Annabeth's hand. Just then, Percy and Grover arrive. They cannot look directly at Medusa. Percy quickly comes up with an idea. They will fight by watching her reflection in his phone's metal surface. Medusa senses another demigod nearby. When she realizes Percy is the son of Poseidon, her fury intensifies. In rage, she knocks over statues and one of them traps Percy beneath it. She grabs him and forces her snakes toward his face, trying to pry his eyes open. At the last possible second, Annabeth and Grover crash a truck through the entrance, slamming into Medusa. Furious and off balance, Medusa accidentally sees her own reflection in Percy's phone as she falls. That is the moment Percy needs. He moves in silently from behind and with a single powerful strike cuts off her head. After a few seconds of heavy silence, Percy says calmly, "You can open your eyes now. The danger is over." Annabeth Chase suggests something bold. They should keep Medusa's head with them because its power still works even after death. Percy agrees and they wrap Medusa's head inside Grover Underwood's sweater. Among Medusa's jewelry, Percy finds a special pearl, the first pearl of Persephone. One pearl is secured, 2 more remain. When they check the map, they discover that the next pearl is located in a museum in Nashville. On the way, they stop at a motel. Percy steps into the swimming pool and Annabeth joins him. Using the power of water, Percy heals the bruise on her arm. The two talk about their parents. Annabeth reveals that she has never seen her mother, Athena. Percy is surprised. She explains that Zeus made a rule. Gods are forbidden from meeting their children, especially after Poseidon tried several times to visit Percy. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted. Grover shows them the TV where Gabe Ugliano is accusing Percy of kidnapping his own mother. Now the 3 of them are officially fugitives. They quickly leave and arrive at the Nashville Museum. There, the second pearl is placed inside the crown of a massive statue of Athena. Tourists are still present, so they wait until nightfall. When only the cleaning staff remains, Annabeth uses tranquilizers to put them to sleep. Percy wonders how he will reach such a tall statue, and then he remembers the flying shoes given by Luke Castellan. Following the instructions, he lifts into the air, flies up, and retrieves the second pearl. But just as they are about to leave, the cleaning staff suddenly reappear, now under some dark force. They demand the Master Bolt. When Percy refuses, they transform into a deadly monster, the Hydra breathing fire. Percy slashes off its heads, but for every head he cuts, 2 more grow back. Annabeth distracts the creature while Percy summons water from a nearby restroom, blasting it backward. They grab the pearl and attempt to escape. At the perfect moment, Grover pulls out Medusa's head, and the Hydra instantly turns into a stone statue. Later, they watch the news. A massive storm cloud is spreading across the entire world. The message is clear: the gods are preparing for war. Their next clue leads them to the Lotus Casino in Las Vegas. Inside, everything is filled with bright lights, luxury, and endless entertainment. They are offered lotus flowers, and the moment they eat them, they slip into a strange trance. Time keeps passing slowly, but they don't realize it. They get completely lost in games, music, and comfort. Suddenly, Percy Jackson hears the voice of his father, Poseidon. "Focus. Time is running out." Percy understands that the flowers are a trap. He forces himself to snap out of it and wakes up Annabeth Chase and Grover Underwood. When the casino staff realize the kids are breaking free from their control, they attack. But the trio fights together, clears a path, retrieves the final pearl, and escapes in a car. Once outside, they check the date, June 20th. A full 5 days have disappeared, and Zeus's deadline is tomorrow. The map now leads them to Hollywood, where the secret entrance to the underworld is hidden. A boatman refuses to take them across because they are alive. Percy bribes him with Medusa's golden coins and they are allowed to pass. Inside the underworld palace, terrifying hellhounds leap toward them, but Persephone appears and stops the attack, guiding them before Hades. In his dark palace, Hades demands the Master Bolt. Percy insists he doesn't have it. He only wants his mother back. Hades releases Sally Jackson, but warns that if the bolt is not returned, they will not leave alive. As Percy hugs his mother, his shield suddenly opens on its own, and from inside it, the Master Bolt emerges. Enraged, Hades seizes Percy and accuses him of lying. Percy Jackson panics and says the shield isn't his. Annabeth Chase instantly realizes the truth. This was all a setup by Luke Castellan. He hid the Master Bolt inside the shield to frame Percy, but Hades doesn't care. He orders Persephone to release his hounds. Then the story flips. Persephone suddenly turns on Hades, strikes him, snatches the Master Bolt, and stops the monsters. She declares she refuses to remain trapped forever in a war-filled underworld. Handing the bolt to Percy, she says, "Reach Zeus before midnight. There are only 3 pearls." Grover Underwood decides to stay behind with Persephone. Percy, his mother Sally Jackson, and Annabeth use the pearls to escape. They arrive on top of a skyscraper where the gateway to Olympus opens. Before they can enter, Luke blocks their path. Percy asks why. Luke says he wants to destroy Olympus so a new generation can rebuild the world without the gods. Percy replies that he is no hero. Luke angrily grabs the Master Bolt and escapes Annabeth's attack using his flying shoes. He fires the bolt but misses. Percy puts on his own flying shoes and chases Luke high above the city. They clash on another rooftop. Luke mocks him, saying he isn't worthy of being called the son of Poseidon. In response, Percy summons water from nearby tanks. A powerful wave slams into Luke, sending him crashing hard onto the rooftop. Injured, Luke falls. Percy retrieves the Master Bolt and enters Olympus with Sally and Annabeth. Inside, Zeus is moments away from declaring war on Poseidon and the Council of Gods. As the clock strikes midnight, Percy and Annabeth arrive and return the Master Bolt. Percy reveals that Luke was the true thief. Zeus breathes in relief, praises Percy, and calls off the war. At Percy's request, Zeus agrees to free Grover from the underworld as well. Then Poseidon steps forward. He apologizes for not being there in Percy's life and explains that Zeus forced the gods to distance themselves from humans. But he says he has always watched over his son from afar, and whenever Percy needs him, he will be there. For the first time, true respect and connection shine between father and son. Percy returns to camp with his mother. At the gate, Sally says she is happy that Percy has found where he truly belongs. Percy smiles. He is now free from Gabe and promises he will keep visiting her. Back at camp, Grover proudly shows off his newly grown horns. Chiron scolds Percy for running away, but with a smile admits he is his favorite student and tells him to always trust his inner voice. Training begins again. Percy stands beside Annabeth on the field, now ready for every new adventure that awaits. And with that, the movie comes to an end. So how did you like this film? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more epic stories like this. See you in the next video.